Good to go. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thursday, November 16th, 2023. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the land, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded lands of the Mi'kmaq. And please rise for the singing of O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Not sure what we'd ever do without Council Cleveland on that one, but thank you very much. No one's losing their day job. Record of attendance. Any absence with regrets? Mike's not working.
Just washed his hands, can't do a thing with them.
No, we're good.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councillor Lesser and her worship, Mayor Mood, from the meeting for this evening.
Have a second? Seconder on that. All in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
while we're on attendance, I'd like to point out that we're honored with the presence of Andrea Hislop. She is our municipal advisor from the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. She's in the neighborhood and thought she would come by and see how you really conduct a great council meeting.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here. Any declaration of conflict of interest, you can do so at the time. And can I have a motion to approve the agenda as circulated? Moved, seconded. Yep, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, there is an item I'd like to suggest we pull from the agenda this evening.
Yep.
And it is to do with the Sweeney Museum. It's item, let's see, 12A7.
Yep.
There's two motions there, so if we could pull those from the agenda this evening and perhaps consider them at the December meeting.
Sounds good. Motion made. Can I have a seconder, please? Okay. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Approval of minutes from the Town Council meeting October 12th, 2023. Can I have a motion to approve those? So moved. Seconded. All in favor do so by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Recommended motion that we approve the minutes of the Committee of the Whole from October 26, 2023 as circulated. So moved. Seconded by Councillor Heather. All in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. 8C, special Town Council meeting October 26, 2023. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes as circulated? So moved. Seconded. All in favor do so by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. So, my first public hearing. 9A. So during this, what will happen is I'll read this, and when I'm done, I'll ask anyone in the crowd who'd like to speak. We'll ask 3 times, and then we will move on from there, correct? Okay. So 9A is 24 Albert Street Development Agreement, long and short-term rental accommodations, to enter into a development agreement to allow for A, 2 units to continue to be used as dwelling units, short-term rentals, or a combination thereof, and B, an enclosed outdoor waste storage area, and C, any use permitted within the underlying zone of the Town of Yarmouth land use bylaw and for the property of 24 Albert Street PID 902-10386. Would anyone like to speak to this?
Can I ask a question?
If you want to come up to the mic, you certainly can.
Just one last for my sake to verify before you goes to vote.
Certainly. Go ahead, sir.
Because my partners are away, they wanted me to reaffirm. I understood from the original meeting when we were originally talking that this development agreement goes with the property.
Yes.
So if we should decide to sell in a year or two, then it goes with that, which at the time we're willing to turn the name over, we just have to be re-registered if a person wanted to continue to use the property or however they so choose.
Yes,
Am I understanding
yes, the
correctly?
development agreement follows the property, stays with the property. If the owner of the property wishes to extinguish the agreement,
Yes.
then they would have to approach the town to do that.
They would have to approach?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to reaffirm that as well. Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this? And would anyone else like to speak to this? Hear no one, we can move on to the next agenda item. Business arising, 10A, parking violations bylaw amendment. Recommended motion is to pass a second reading to amend the parking violations bylaw as recommended by staff. I have a motion for that, please. The seconder? Second it. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Taxi bylaw amendment. Recommended motion that council pass second reading to amend the taxi bylaw to include standards for hybrid and electric vehicles. Second it. Any discussion on that one? Hearing none. All in favor do so by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. 10C, new vending bylaw. Recommended motion that council repeal the licenses bylaw and street vendors bylaw and pass the second reading of the vending bylaw. Motion for that, please. So moved. Second it. Any discussion there? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. 10D, minimum housing standards bylaw amendment. Recommended motion that council pass second reading to amend the minimum housing standards bylaw to include provisions for smoke alarms. Have a motion for that, please. Motion, second by Councilor Cleveland. Any discussion on that one? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. 10E, the 24 Albert Street Development Agreement, long and short-term rental accommodations. A recommended motion that council pass second reading to enter into a development agreement to allow for A, 2 units to continue to be used as dwelling units, short-term rentals, or a combination thereof. B, an enclosed outdoor waste storage area. And C, any use permitted within the underlying zone of the town of Yarmouth land use bylaw for the property at 24 Albert Street, PID 902-10386. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that one? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay. 11A, new business. Parking lots and snow clearing removal. The recommended motion, the council award the tender for the snow clearing for the 2023-2024 season to K. Anthony Landscaping and Snow Removal. Have a motion for that, please. Motion, seconded. Councilor Dares?
Just if it's been seconded?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to point out in case anyone else had picked up or had looked at the tenders that were received. It's been explained to me by the CAO that the tender submitted by K. Anthony Landscaping and Snow Removal, the price for snow clearing only per storm event is listed at $5. And that seemed a bit low, but that's because it had to have a dollar value. And so he just put that in there. They don't do snow clearing only. They always do, it's snow clearing and ice control. So
Thank you for
snow
that
clearing only
clarification.
is not an option, but it looks like he's going to do it for $5. I just wanted to point that out in case anyone else hadn't seen that.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. 11B, Gary Nickerson. For those who know, Gary was a very valued member of our community, longtime radio announcer, podcast with Quinn Taggart, always a great community guy. I know a lot of people were at attendance at his service on Monday, and if anyone would like to speak to anything to do with Gary and the great impressions that he's left on our town.
Thank you. I did attend the celebration of life for Gary on Tuesday, and it was nice to hear from so many people that had some stories to tell. I didn't take the opportunity to take the mic at that event, but I had all kinds of interactions with Gary over the years, but one of the things that I think a lot of people weren't quite aware of is just what a wicked sense of humor that man had. And I'll tell two really, really quick stories. One was one day when I was tasked to do an interview on the drug situation in the town of Yarmouth. And so I sat down with Gary for a taped interview, and I previously said there's certain questions that I won't answer, and so let's get that on the table first, and we did. So partway through the interview, which was going really well, I saw a smirk on his face, and he asked me one of the questions that he knew I couldn't answer. And so I thought, you're being a smart aleck, so I'm going to be a smart aleck too. So I gave him a really nasty answer, and it disintegrated from there. So every time he asked a question, he had pressed the stop button because the two of us were howling with laughter, and we'd compose ourselves, and I'd give another answer. So I took this tape back to the office, and the DNCO and the detachment corporal sat and listened to it. And if you could have seen the look on their face, I mean, they were trying to figure out how they were going to do damage control on this, because this was about to be aired within like an hour. And anyway, Gary, that was just one of his things. But another time there was a colleague that was going to retire, and just happened to mention it to Gary, and he created a tape, and I don't know how long it took him, but it was like he was interviewing the person that was going to be retiring. So he would ask a question, and then the answer would be words from a song. It'd be like somebody singing, and it was absolutely hilarious, and it was the hit of the night at the retirement thing. I don't know how much time he spent doing that, but that's just the sense of humor and the way the guy behaves. He's quite a character, for sure. Anyway, thank you for that time.
Thanks for that. Anyone else? Councillor Cleveland?
Thank you. I had the chance, of course, as I'm sure you all know, to work with Gary for the better part of 40 years. Matter of fact, I was there just before he was hired. I was a high school student, and he had just graduated, and it was really wondrous to work with him for the long period of time that I did. Gary was, a truly amazing guy. And a guy, I'd just like to point out the fact he was a very, very funny guy. He's a guy who cared a lot about this community, he really did. And of course, the celebration of life was held at the fire hall. And I would say Gary was one of the biggest supporters of the volunteer firefighters and just the fire department generally that you could find. He was always there. He would always interview and support, and whenever there was a need for publicity, he would work for that and really work tirelessly for that organization and for many others. And the town and the region was richer for what he did. A level of professionalism that you really don't find anymore. And I guess it's sad to say, and it makes me sound like an old codger to say it, but there's just not that level of professionalism and of integrity within the media that there was then. And he's part of a dying breed, and he's going to be desperately missed. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Well, I guess personally, I just, ever since being elected, he was always great to talk to, always a great supporter, that iconic voice. I'm not much of a morning person, but you roll over and hear Gary, you always knew some news or something good was coming. So, our town will definitely miss him. Councillor Bell, did I see you?
To say that before Gary was a news director and a reporter at CJLS, I knew him at the Yarmouth Vanguard, and he was in the ad department. And so you had Fred in the news department and Gary in the ad department, and the two of them together, yeah, they were funny guys, and they don't make them like that anymore. But I just wanted to say that, echoing what Wade said about his professionalism, he was mentored by Ray Zink, who is another news legend in the local community, and we were, I guess you would call competitors. We were friendly competitors in the print division and in the radio division. We fought really hard to be first and to be best and to get the scoops. We all fought really hard, but at the end of the day, we supported one another, and we could go to one another and lean on each other in those times when it was difficult. And no one else understands what it's like to be in the news business, because no matter who you are appealing to on one day, they're going to be just as upset with you the next day. That's just what it is to be in the news business. You're trying to find the best available version of the truth, and that's not necessarily what any person's perspective is. And so Gary was always able to do that. He was able to stay true to the principles, and We've lost another good one, and thank you.
Thank you. Well, the best part about memories are they last forever, so a lot of us have some good ones, and you won't soon be forgotten, so thank you all for that. 11C, Yarmouth Mall. Recommended motion that council invite Linda DeVue, manager of the Yarmouth Mall, to present at a future meeting regarding the restrictions limiting the mall from attracting new tenants. I have a motion for that. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that one?
Just to say, I'm not a shopper, and so this motion is predicated on the fact that I was in the mall one afternoon or one evening and noticed the lack of activity. So I had a discussion with the mall manager, Linda DeVue, and they have had some difficulty attracting tenants. And I think COVID has caused significant problems in the retail industry because, Amazon and Wayfair don't pay property taxes in town. And yet there's one of those delivery vehicles going by my house, I think, on a regular basis. So just think that it might be wise to listen to the manager and see what difficulty she may be experiencing, and if there's anything we can do to assist in that manner. So that's the rationale. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion? Councillor Bell?
Yeah, just apropos of that, I think it's important to remember we have a strategic planning review coming up. Our municipal planning strategy and land use bylaws are about to undergo a major review, and I think that that's the opportunity for the commercial property owners and those that manage businesses throughout the town to really have an opportunity to join the conversation about looking forward into the future and what can we change that will better suit the needs of now. So that's just a reminder that is coming up.
Yep. Thank you for that. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, do so by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Councillor Cleveland, reports from Committee of the Whole, I guess. Actually, it's another item. Oh, sorry there. Yeah, cross that out, my bad. 11D, Yarmouth Special Olympics Curling Team. Councillor Dares, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, the Yarmouth Special Olympics curling team has been qualified for a national tournament. And so I think their goal is their necessity is to raise upwards of $9,000 towards that goal. And I know that anything we can do to help would be great. So I'm going to make a motion that we award $500 grant to the Yarmouth Special Olympics to assist them in travel arrangements. This is something that we weren't aware of and they weren't aware of during the grant application process. And so I believe there's still some funds in that account, and I'm hoping that we can find our way to award them $500. Thank you.
Perfect. We have a seconder on that. Thank you, Councillor Heather. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Now, Councillor Cleveland, if you would like to read the things from Committee of the Whole, please.
All right, thank you very much, Your Worship, Deputy Worship. Let's begin with Schedule of Fees Policy Amendment. The recommended motion is that Council amend the Schedule of Fees Policy as recommended by staff.
Get a seconder on that, please. Seconded. Any discussion there? Go ahead, CAO.
Yeah, just wanted to point out that you may notice that the document looks different than it did at Committee of the Whole, and the changes are related to the vending bylaw that we've tonight just adopted, and so Natalie went ahead and incorporated those changes, anticipating your approvals.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.
That Council directs staff to review notification procedures for work done on private properties and develop written notices and information materials where none exist that can be used to communicate the reason for visit, actions, if any, required by homeowner, contact information, and any other details considered relevant.
May I have a seconder, please? Second, any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried.
That Council adopt the stock donation acceptance policy as presented.
Seconder, any discussion there? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.
That Council award the tender for the wastewater treatment plant digester cladding replacement to Graham Construction in the amount of $140,000 plus HST.
Seconded by Councillor Bell. Any discussion there? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried.
The next have two motions. First off, that Council accepts the driving destination competitiveness accommodation levy for Yarmouth County report.
Okay. Any discussion on that one? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded,
And the
Motion
Council
carried.
directs staff to draft a bylaw that imposes a marketing levy on persons buying short-term accommodation in their respective municipalities.
seconded by Councillor Bell. Any discussion there? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.
That Council approve the 2023 fall grants as presented.
Seconded by Councillor Heather. Any discussions there? All in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.
That Council add grants policy to the November committee of the whole meeting.
Seconded. Discussion. All in favor do so by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried.
That Council send the GPS mapping of the tree to the McDonald's and place correspondence on file.
Seconded. Any discussion with that one? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. Thank you. Citizen Advisory Committee, still up.
Still me. That Council pass first reading to enter into a development agreement with the owners of 236 Water Street to allow for a total of A, 56 units to be used as dwelling units contained wholly within two buildings located on the subject property, and B, any use permitted within the underlying zone of the Town of Yarmouth Land Use Bylaw, LUB, for the property at 236 Water Street.
Seconder. And just for information, so people know, this is the first reading. The public doesn't have a chance to talk at this time, but at a future meeting, there will be a public consultation part. So anyone who likes to discuss it, we can do so then. And in between now and then, I'm sure our emails are open and whatnot for the public if they have any questions. So any more discussion on that one? Councillor Bell?
Yeah, just one question. I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to answer it tonight, but I'm just, the underlying zone, in this case, is that going to be a residential R3 zone? Because it's a development agreement, so I'm just trying to, what's the underlying zone? I can't remember. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't recall either, to be honest, but it's either within the report attached or I can get that
Okay,
information
I'll
for you
just
tomorrow.
review it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I'll just,
Thank you. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried.
That council passed first reading to enter into the development agreement to allow for A, 4 units to continue to be used as dwelling units, short-term rentals, or a combination thereof. This is for 37 Huntington. And B, any use permitted within the underlying zone with the exception of dwelling units in excess of 4 units of the Town of Yarmouth land use bylaw for that property at 37 Huntington Street.
Have a seconder? Second?
Motion, but I just want to point out that I believe there may be a spelling error. Instead of in access, it should be in excess. With that correction, I'll second the motion. Thank you.
Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. 12C, reports or information. Is there anything from any committees or anything that we would like to? Yep, go ahead.
I have 2 very quick items. One is that the airport task force that was created throughout the summer months had its first meeting today, and you'll be, I think, pleased with the representation at the table. It's all people that are very interested and have a great deal of to offer at that level. And secondly, I'd like to advise that there will be an open house here on Tuesday evening from 5 till 7 with the Deer Management Committee, just to discuss, allow the public to come in and ask questions and get information. That's 5 to 7 on Tuesday afternoon.
Perfect,
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Cleveland?
Yeah, I want to mention the fact that Nova Scotia Music Week just happened here in Yarmouth and was hugely successful. They were very, very pleased with the turnout, the way that everything went. It's always a great time. It's especially a great time here. And it's significant to me that groups like this look forward to coming to Yarmouth because we punch so far above our weight class in hospitality and welcoming, in the level of volunteerism, and a huge thank you to the volunteers who worked so hard with this, and just the professionalism of the group to pull this all off. It's a big event. Involves a lot of different moving parts, a lot of different people. So congratulations to everyone who took part. It was a huge success.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'd just like to say a big thank you to the people who were involved in organizing our Remembrance Day ceremonies. I was lucky enough to attend the one at the Cenotaph, and I know the mayor was out at the Mariner Center, and a lot of work goes into that, but it's very much appreciated from all of us in the community to pay our respects to those who did the ultimate sacrifice for us. And it was very well attended, I'm glad to say. A little chilly outside, but I think that kind of plays into our mind of what others had to do to fight for our rights, and an hour out in the cold to show respect once a year is the least we could do. So thank you to the Legion and all those who stepped up to do that. And I guess on the other thing that I'd just like to get out to the public is I know our bus is back up and running coming tomorrow. And just so everybody knows, anytime it goes down, there's a huge effort to fix it as soon as it can, but things take time. Parts are not readily available. And I'm happy to say, hopefully within about a year's time, we'll have 2 brand spanking new buses, and hopefully things, continue to stay consistent as they can. So we're doing what we can at the mercy of, I guess, the suppliers, but when they get here, they'll get here, right? Thank you. No mayor's report for tonight. Questions for committee chairs. Approval of invoices. The recommended motion that the various invoices be approved for payment. So moved. Seconded. All in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. And the date of the next meeting is December 14th, 2023. Be the last one of the year. Here we go. And do we have anything in camera? Nothing in camera tonight. So motion to adjourn, please. So moved. Seconded?